Fishing golf, first blood. Good morning, brother. All right, and yeah. So looks like VP Spit Roast picked her new dog king. So we gonna have us a show about that today. Y'all buckle up because this guy's a real piece of work. I see my mother in the chat. Good morning, Ma. I hope y'all are having a good breakfast with them grandbabies running. Well, it's 7:30, so I imagine the Romano girls are still asleep. So, what happened was everybody was expecting for Shapiro out of Pennsylvania to be the guy, but oh, wait, no, that's right. We all knew that the Democrats couldn't pick a Jew. Right? I mean, he was the obvious choice because they're about to get their asses whipped in Philly. But it turns out that with the last name like Shapiro, he's a J-O-O. So you can't have that running with the first black president. That just doesn't. They like to talk about, they like to crack the joke that, Donald Trump rally is basically just a bunch of pointy white masks. But, the Democrats sure do seem nervous about having a Jew on the ticket. I wonder why that is. Could that be because they're all pro-Palestine now? Oh. Like, I don't care what a person's position is on the whole Israel thing. But you cannot continue to pretend, right? This is what bothers, what gets me on this, right? Catholics and Jews both tend by a wide margin to vote Democrat. Why? God, why? I mean, it blows my mind. Catholics and Jews vote Democrat pretty consistently, pretty reliably. Catholics and Jews continue to vote for abortion and the erasure of Israel. That's it. That's what you're in for. Gotcha. So instead, Kamala had to go and pick this guy, Tim Walz. And I mean, just here's your, that actually doesn't open an image. So I think I may have let my posts, my images get out of order, but yeah, so she decided to go with this guy. Let's see. So
Good
Joe
evening,
Biden's
everyone.
vice
Good
president
evening.
decided
Good
to go
evening.
with this guy.
Good evening. Good evening. Good
Give
evening.
him a minute. Oh, and he's got to sniff the hair. Oh, and he's got to lean in for the sniff. A sniffer. A sniffer, you say? Maybe somebody ought to tell him that Kamala's a little past her expiration date for his interests. Yeah, if you catch my meaning there. So, who is Tim Walz? Well, he is the radical Radical. Tim Lowry. Hey, Tim. I'm sorry, brother. Mr. Walz gives all Tims a bad name. I'm sorry. So, but this guy, he's the radical. He's the governor that basically oversaw the burning down of Minneapolis. He's very pro BLM. And let me just, I want to make sure that everybody's real clear on this. When we say that this guy's pro BLM, I want to share this interview with you from his wife. This is Tim Walz's wife talking about basically.
I'd say
listen,
those first days, when there were riots, I could smell the burning tires, and that was a very real thing. And I kept the windows open for as long as I could because I felt like that was such a touchstone of what was happening.
I kept the windows open for as long as I could so that I could smell the burning tires in solidarity because gangs of ethnic terrorists burning down my city on my husband's watch was something that I felt was morally and historically significant for me to be a part of. Right? I don't even really need to prevaricate on that, especially over much. She said it very clearly. I kept the windows open for as long as I could because I felt like it was so important to smell the tires burning to support the ethno-terrorists. Make no mistake. Okay, so I was going to say BLM, ethno-terrorist. That's not all they are. I mean, they were also, notorious money launderers and embezzlers. So ethno-terrorists, financial criminals. I mean, it's a criminal organization. More correctly, it is the militant wing of a much larger notorious criminal organization called the Democrat Party. And Kamala tweeted this about her pick. She said, Tim Walz was the kind of teacher and mentor that every kid in America dreams of having and deserves. That's right. Every kid in America deserves to be subjected to a social contagion with the explicit intent of weaponizing a mental illness against your children in order to sterilize and mutilate them with chemicals and surgery at taxpayer expense. That's the kind of teacher your kids need. And that, dear wife, is why we homeschool. I know you know that. I know. You're beautiful. I love you. And every doctor that saw that clip flinched in concern of treating lung damage. That's my girl. Pitt Danny says, with this choice, they must be totally confident that they can steal the election. Right. See, that's a good, there you go. And Danny says Kamala now has her Chinese handler. Tim Lowry points out, worse than that, he's a coward. And yes, that is the next thing that I wanted to get to. Guys, there is a lot to cover where this guy is concerned. Before I get to the coward thing, I just mentioned the weaponization of social contagion thing. This is another piece of conversation that's going on Twitter right now. Come on, hold up. There we go. Y'all should be able to read that now. It says, wait, the right wing is calling him Tampon Tim as if it's a bad thing. Putting free tampons in the bathroom is supposed to be bad? Okay, GOP, carry on. This is how they lie to you. This is how they lie. He is omitting a key piece of significant information, right? And what is that? Oh, the issue isn't, and he knows damn well it isn't, The issue isn't and never was that Tampon Tim put tampons into bathrooms. It's men's rooms. He put tampons into men's rooms. Okay? Because, yeah, there's a lot of little boys that need tampons. There aren't. If you need a tampon, you should not be in the little boy's room. Okay? Now, I will say, in Tim's defense, right? He is the governor of Minnesota, right? Dearborn. No. Anyway, he's got a big Somali population. So there is a higher than usual probability that you will need tampons to plug your bullet wounds. Oh, and there's Mom catching up to me on the joke and passing me on the left. Hey, on your left. So let me get to this next bit. So we've got this article from Fox News, and this is another reminder. You know, normally we're looking at an article like this, I'll put it in reader mode so that it's white on black. It just looks cleaner. But I wanted y'all to see this is from Fox News, right? I'll switch it over to reader mode now. But I wanted to remind you this is from Fox News, because reminder, Fox News is not your friend. Fox is not your friend. Okay? This guy says, I served with Tim Walz as a Republican in the House. He'll be a good vice president. Oh, I see. You served with. Oh, you're a Republican, and you're gonna and you think that Tim Walz is gonna be a good. Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Charles K. Joe. This is the guy that wrote that article. Says Charles K. Joe is Secretary of the American Battle Monuments Commission. That's right. He's the head of the organization that is tearing down your statues and changing the names of military bases, like Fort Gordon just got changed to Fort Eisenhower recently. And y'all, I got a whole tirade on that. Okay, everybody who's ever signed their name to a document to change the name of something like a military, every single politician who's ever signed their name to a document to change the name of a thing, right? It's one thing to name a thing, but to change the name, right? Like changing the name of Fort Gordon to Fort Eisenhower, or changing the name of one that really pissed me off is changing the name of Fob Wilson, which was in Afghanistan, to Fob Passab for the locals. Because here's the thing, okay? Every single one of you motherfuckers needs to be charged under fraud, waste, and abuse, because that's what that is. Because when you change the name of a military base, you're not just spending $20,000 or $30,000 on the sign at one gate. No. You've got several gates, and every piece of documentation, right? All the vehicle registration stickers, everything. You're talking about millions, if not $1 billion, in taxpayer cost to change the name. For the purposes of somebody's little fee-fees. And that shit, no. This guy, this Charles K. Joe, that's telling you that, oh, well, I served with Tim Walz as a Republican in Congress. Oh, really? This guy left the Republican Party in 2018, endorsed Joe Biden for president in 2020, and is now the Secretary of Fraud of the official business of fraud, waste, and abuse. This son of a bitch belongs in jail for embezzling tax money directly into leftist causes. This guy right here, this is how you get taxpayer funding to create events like Charlottesville for the purpose of generating left-wing black propaganda to create the facade of hate groups, because there's a big business in this country right now. There's a huge business in this country right now. And that business is the hate crime hoax. Hate crime hoaxes are huge business because Democrat low information voters vote for Democrats based on this narrative that the Democrat is going to save them from hate crimes. And so the Democrat wants there to be a massive demand. And they have gone out of their way. They've done a very good job with their marketing campaign to create a massive demand for hate crime, for racism. They have a massive demand for racism on the left. But the problem is, right, market forces, they have a big problem here. There's no supply. And so they have to create the supply by fabricating illegitimate and unsupported hoaxes. Like every cause BLM got behind. And this is the problem with a guy like Tim Walz. Tim Walz is absolutely a BLM apologist, right? He's a BLM apologist who actively enabled by standing down the police and delaying the National Guard, BLM protests to burn down cities. The guy is a menace and a coward to boot. We'll get to that. We'll get to the coward bit as well. So anyway, this schmuck says he served with Tim Walz as a Republican in the House. He'll be a good vice president. He says Democratic vice presidential candidate and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is a normal guy. I say this as a former Republican representative who served with Tim in Congress. How about as a former Republican, right? Just like I've said before about the never Trumpers, when you talk to somebody who says, well, I don't know if I can vote for Trump because I just don't like his personality. He's so brash and he's so... Have you seen the opposition? I mean, have you seen the alternatives? Cackling Kamala Harris, pedophile, child-sniffing Joe Biden, right? Barack Obama, the cokehead. Potentially, we're looking at, in 2028, Barry's husband, Big Mike, right? The opposition is not, they're not nice people. They're not good people. And it's not like they're somehow... I don't know where people get the idea that they're somehow less vulgar and less offensive than Donald Trump. That's psychotic. It's unintelligent and dishonest. Waller says Walz has already shown he's an unqualified leader. Yeah, his cities were on fire. That's enough for me. So in these times of bitter political division, America needs someone who can calmly and humbly serve the nation without all the unnecessary shouting and bluster that too often defines our politics today. Let me remind you, okay, not only did this guy's wife sit by the window and sniff the tire fires while she touched herself for BLM, it's also the case that his daughter actively leaked National Guard deployment schedules to BLM activists to give them a strategic advantage in continuing to conduct their riots even after the National Guard was finally called in. That's not one of the tinfoil hat conspiracies either. That is confirmed. That is a thing that happened. Right? And frankly, his ass should be in jail for that. He should be in jail for that, because that means that through his access, his daughter, a civilian, acquired access to classified information and then intentionally disseminated it to insurrectionists, to terrorists, for the explicit purpose of causing harm to a military unit in the United States of America. Incarceration would be a very, very gentle, correct remedy for that crime. Really, he and his daughter should be hanged. But, I mean, what do I know? That's just Article 3, Section 3 of the Constitution. It's not like anybody reads law books on the shitter anymore. Jesus Christ, guys, buy a library. Get. Okay. I highly recommend not reading in the bathroom. Buy a park bench. They're like $100. You put it in the yard and you go sit on it and read. Pitt Danny says Walz quit the National Guard to avoid deployment. Yep, we're about to get to that one too. Yeah, because I'm okay. Give me a second. I pulled up a shitload of posts this morning. X posts and oh, that's not it. There we go. So, yeah, so we got this one. I covered that. We got this one schmuck that says, "Oh well, I used to be a Republican, so you can trust me." Oh, Fox is not your friends, guys. So this is from I Meme Therefore I Am. I'm a big fan of I Meme Therefore I Am. By the by. As he says, holy shit, Minnesota National Guard leaders exposed Tim Walz for stolen valor, lying about his rank and quitting when his unit was deployed to Iraq. There is a letter from the retired command sergeants majors from the retired command sergeants major of the National Guard, of the Minnesota National Guard, which details that he didn't retire, he quit. He quit the National Guard. He left the National Guard to go run for office. He did it when his unit came up for deployment to Iraq. And when he left service, he was not a command sergeant major. He had been reduced to master sergeant as part of that whole drama. Okay? So when he says that he is a retired command sergeant major, I'll grant this isn't as bad as a homeless guy who went into who goes into. No, it is. It's worse. Okay, you've got homeless guys that go into Army Navy surplus stores, right? And they buy an old uniform and they wear the uniform and they make a sign that says, homeless veteran, et cetera, et cetera. But they're not veterans. They're just bums. And they make their signs so that, kind of pull that heartstring and take advantage of the fact that there are homeless veterans who do need our help so that they can, that is stolen valor. It's disgusting. But they're making booze and lunch money off of it. This schmuck, Waller, that's exactly where I was going with it. So Waller says it's worse because he knows the difference. So Tim Walz knows the difference, and he's using his stolen valor to steal elections, to lie to voters, to convince them to elect him based on a service record that is false. That is deeply, deeply aggravating to me personally. That's oh yeah, we didn't. So that's the other thing about him. Okay, so he got picked because he's not Jewish. Basically that's his qualification is, look, it's the drunk or the Jew, and well, Democrats won't vote for a Jew, so we'll go with the drunk. And And yeah, I said drunk, and I haven't even mentioned drinking in this case yet this episode, right? So you got that. He's basically a confession that the Democrat Party is in full support now of the extermination of Israel as a state for the purpose of advancing the cause of Hamas. Right? The Democrat Party is basically fully co-opted by Hamas, except that they're also apparently full. So Hamas and China, Democrat Party, Hamas and China. That's basically it. Then you've got the stolen valor thing. Then you've got the burning Minnesota thing. Then you've got the tampons in the boys' room thing, right? The fact that he had a DUI at just under 0.2 BAC doesn't even make the top 5 of why this guy isn't qualified to keep walking. But he's Kamala's pick. And I always have to give credit to Pitt Danny about this because he's the one that turned me on to studying it. Because I didn't know about it until it's probably been about 3 years ago, I guess. Danny told me about it, and I went and read about it. This is another dog king, right? Part of the point here, they, on the face of it, the optics of this looks a lot like the Democrats have basically accepted that they're going to lose this election. And so they don't want to waste good candidates. So you've got 2 shit candidates, right? Vice President Spit Roast and her running mate, the drunk master sergeant that couldn't keep it up to go down range. Oh my God, okay. Trying not to let myself get distracted because I got another story that I got to tell. Willow Bar says driving while inclusive. Woo. So yeah, the fact that he's a drunk doesn't even make the top 5. And yes, Papa Polak, that is an M72 law, and if you look closely at it, it says I'd rather be killing zombies. Yes. Damn, you had to talk about my law. I was trying not to get spun off on war topics this morning, and you'll have to forgive me. I keep sliding away from the desk because I had to replace the wheels on this chair, and these wheels are just too good. The dog king, yeah. So there are a couple of dog kings. So on the face of it, it looks like they picked 2 shit candidates because they know they're about to lose this election and they want to just throw these away. But the other side of that, and this is important, right? Because it will be tempting as much. This looks like a mistake. This looks like a major political error. And there are a lot of pundits right now saying that this is a clear and obvious. Guys, this is way too clear and obviously a political error. This is way too clear and obviously a confession that they cannot win in November. So I forget who mentioned it earlier. At least 1 or 2 of you guys brought it up earlier and said basically it looks like they're just admitting that they're going to steal the election in November. That's the thing. It's as if they're going to steal the election in November. You have to get your ass out and vote. Take a friend. Take a cousin, whatever. Go vote. And as much as I despise early voting, do it. Go vote as early as you can get away with it. Go vote as early as you possibly can. And if you get a mail-in ballot, take it with you and go vote in person. Right? There's enough people that watch this show. Statistically, there's a high probability that one of you is going to show up to vote, and they're going to tell you that you've already voted. If you have the mail-in, you need to have the mail-in ballot with you, because what happens in those cases, it's not always the case. There's two primary circumstances under which that's allowed, it's possible for that to happen. Somebody stole the mail-in ballot from your mailbox and filled it out and mailed it in fraudulently, posing as you, or somebody generated one, right? So if you have your mail-in ballot, then you can eliminate one of those two possibilities. You have the mail-in ballot that was mailed to you, addressed to you with your name on it, your home address on it. There you go. So if you've gotten a mail-in ballot before you go vote early, and vote for Donald Trump. I don't care if you leave the rest of the ticket blank. I do care. I mean, vote R all the way down. And I hate to do that because I'm not a fan of the Republican Party. Right? The Republican Party is like a sharpened broomstick in the zombie apocalypse. It's, fuck, it's what I got. Get to work. So there. Penny says good morning. Good morning, Penelope. Oh, I can't wait to take my kids to go vote one day. But so and I got spun off the Dog King thing. That's part of it. Is I think there's a good chance that they plan to steal it again. This is sort of telegraphing the fact that they plan to steal it again. And when they steal it again, you're going to be stuck with these two people in office, president and vice president, who are not there. They're not even there because the party of evil. Right? You might think that the evil Democrat Party that is dedicated to the sterilization, mutilation, and extermination of the children of the United States of America has chosen these two people because those evil people think that these two people are the best for the job, that these two people are the best people that they could possibly put in the position of the executive in order to advance the cause of sterilizing, mutilating, and exterminating your children. But it's not the case. They don't believe these two are the best. What they believe is that who sits in that office is irrelevant as long as that person is not Donald Trump. Because unless it's Donald Trump, and he comes in and fires everybody that the president can fire and replaces them all with quality people, which is a big if in and of itself. The fact is, just like with the Biden administration, the Democrats, when it's a Democrat in the White House, he is a figurehead. He is a rubber stamp. Right? There's a lot of people right now who think Barack Obama is running the country. No. Barack Obama was also a rubber stamp. It looks like Barack Obama is running the country because y'all didn't realize then that he was just the face of some quasi-multinational fucking conspiracy group that's essentially composed of China. Right? The Democrats aren't bending the knee to Hamas because Hamas has taken them over. They're bending the knee to Hamas because Hamas is doing business with China. So the only thing you can do, right? I don't even honestly believe that we can vote enough for it to be too big to steal. What you can do is if enough of us get out and vote and know we voted and talk to each other, tell each other, don't keep shit a secret. You've been told your whole life that you shouldn't talk about religion, politics, or money. Fuck that. Talk about your church. Talk about your politics. Talk about your church. Talk about your politics. Tell people to go vote. Tell people you voted. Ask people if they voted. "81 million voters, my ass." There are pollsters right now who are saying that they expect this year to have an even bigger turnout than 2020. There were more votes than legal voters in 2020. How do you go bigger than more than is possible? Like, well, we only voted 100, we only had 120% turnout in 2020. That's just not good enough. You got to give it 150%. Coach, I'm out of running. There's nothing left. Danny points out, Walz speaks Mandarin Chinese, lived and educated in China. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Papa Polak. I'm not going to read that one out loud, but it's excellent. All right. I got to go cut the grass and take the trash to the dump before I can go to the farm and get in the pool. So I'm going to go ahead and put a penny. I'm going to go ahead and put a pen in this one and call it a day. And yes, Vera will be old enough to vote in the next presidential election. So, oh, Noah Takla LOL says there is a 155 million votes in 2020, and there are 339 million citizens. That is correct. That's pretty close. I don't understand what's got you confused, Noah Takla. 339 million citizens is dramatically different than 339 voters. That's what I said, voters. Okay? I can go back and check. I may have misspoke, but there were more votes than voters. Because of those 339 million citizens, many of them are children under the age of 18. Many of them are felons. Many of them are mentally retarded, legally incompetent, right? Elderly and infirmed and adjudicated incompetent, right? There are a lot of people. There are a lot of citizens that are not legal voters. Noatak says there are 170 million registered voters in 2020. And when's the last time more than 50% of registered voters showed up to vote? Even of the registered voters, right? It's a nice try. Noatak. I'm just gonna call you Noah. It's a nice try, Noah, but you're coming on a show with somebody who knows how to deal with statistical analysis and like bigly, and you're trying to gaslight me and pretend like I said something I didn't. The fact is this: the 2020 election, right? Let's assume for the sake of argument that everything was above board and perfectly on the level in the 2020 election. That there was no cheating, right? Because it would have been the first time in history that anybody ever cheated in an election, for one. It was the most secure election, and there was zero fraud, was the narrative, right? And then they started saying There was no statistically significant fraud. There was no massive voter fraud. There was no mass voter fraud. I'm not going to go down, because I'm about to put a pin in this, I'm not going to go down the whole chain and relitigate the fact that none of the cases were adjudicated. They were removed based on standing, latches, grounds, etc. And just ignored, right? There was a massive, massive conspiracy to steal the 2020 election. And then around that, there appears to have been a standalone complex that ran through the judges that saw the cases. And I have to believe it was a standalone complex, because the idea that the conspiracy could have been that big is very difficult to process. But that brings into mind the fifth generational warfare, the amorphous warfare strategy of engineered standalone complex, right? I don't recognize your name, so you haven't been here before for conversations about things like Lois Lerner was never ordered to break the law. She was just informed by the zeitgeist that it would be appreciated if she would rid me of this troublesome priest. But the numbers just don't stand up to scrutiny. They don't. And then you add the fact that for the first time in history, for the first time ever, in a U.S. presidential election, we did not know who won the next day. Oh, you didn't even wait for me to finish my point. So, okay, gotcha. You're a shitburger. I understand. So you that means that Noah, guys, I'm glad y'all are here to see this. That means that this kid Noah is one who believes that an intelligent person can look at the 2020 election and say, "Oh yeah, this wasn't any different than any other election." I'm sorry. Have you ever seen an election? Clearly, 2020 must have been the first election that you were old enough to pay attention to, because I'm here to tell you, Noah, that's not how elections work. It's just not. So, I'm going to go ahead and put a pin in it right there. Y'all be safe. We love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Except for you, Noah, because, obviously the shit libs that come on here and try to troll, they never come back and watch again the next day. But I appreciate your commentary, helping me boost that algorithm. Ain't no such thing as a free lunch.